Yeah.
All right, let's get it going. Welcome back to another episode of the Healthy with Heartland podcast. I'm Justin. I'm also joined with your favorite creative director, Simon and Shannon. Let's send it over for some announcements before we get in today's episode. We're going to be talking about mindset when it comes to investing in yourself, your health, how money plays into that, and how you need to rewire the way you think it's going to be fun. But before that, let's do the announcements.
Let's do it. Welcome back, Heartland family. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you're not already, make sure you're following us on Facebook. Make sure you go ahead and check us out on YouTube. We post all the podcast recaps. So if you miss them, you can check them out there. Also on Instagram, we have amazing foods photos. So please don't go there hungry. Make sure you follow us on there. If you are a Heartland customer, you can also restock from home without the hassle. So check out our reorder special for this month. The month of May, we're doing cobia fillets. So you can get 4 of those, with your reorder absolutely free. So make sure to take advantage of that. If you do follow us on social media, you've probably seen our Pitmaster giveaway. So that's coming up at the end of May. The winner is going to be announced on the 28th. So make sure to submit a recipe for a chance to win. If you're interested in getting out there, now it's spring, it's almost summertime. So if you'd like to do a pop-up with Heartland Foods or a virtual party, make sure to check us out. Send us a message on Kat and Lindsay or email us at marketing@heartlandfoods.com. If you have recently gotten your delivery, we'd love to see that on our Heartland Foodies or on our Heartland page. If you did get your delivery, make sure to do our survey as well for a chance to win a surf and turf dinner. We have our winner for the month of April, which was Samantha Whitaker. Congratulations. And with that, let's get into our podcast.
Yep. And just make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. That's things people are saying nowadays, so I figured I'd say it.
Only if you want to.
That's
no
right.
pressure.
That's right.
Awesome.
Where do we want to start with this one?
I mean, this is a pretty, interesting topic, I feel like.
It's delicate, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is.
Well, first, I think we should let them know what we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can start there.
Yeah. So it's about just mindset on your health. If you look at it as a cost or an investment, the way that we think about health, food, money, money is utility. So let's just start with that.
Right.
It is to be used, right? It's not to be hoarded.
Yeah.
So you're either investing in yourself. If you hoard it, you're not keeping up with inflation. So money is to be used to either invest in yourself, invest to make more of it, to help other people. There's lots of things you need to think about. Just shift the way we think about money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this myth that healthy food is expensive.
Yep.
It is if you're looking at it on the surface of just a very linear thought process of the organic apple costs this one, the other one costs that one. This one's cheaper, let's buy that one.
Right.
It's a very short-sighted way of looking at money, food, your health. So let's just start with some stats.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah, this is from MarketWatch. The average annual healthcare costs are 5 times higher for a person with one chronic disease, right? It gets worse with more and more and more. And of course, let's put in the disclaimer, chronic disease is not always your fault or something that you can prevent,
Right.
but a lot of it is. And you want to give yourself the best chance at health, right? So average person with one chronic disease is going to spend about $6,000 a year more on healthcare than a healthy person.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Right.
6 times.
So if we know that we can prevent a lot of that just by what we choose to put in our bodies, don't tell me the healthy food is more expensive. If it costs an extra $100, $200, $300 a month, you're still cutting that healthcare cost in half. So what is the consequence of not investing in my health and the quality of food, right? So to find the answer to these questions, it's not so simple as this food costs this one costs that. Yeah, but what's the long-term effects? Where do I end up by making these choices?
Exactly.
Right.
So you got to rewire the way you think, and you are investing in yourself. You're investing in your productivity, your future, when you make healthy decisions.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's really, you think about it, it's you're just diverting money, right? It's really not like you're saving anything. It's where do you really want to spend the money? Where do you really want to spend your time, right? All that the discipline that it really takes, because you spend on, as Americans, we spend on frivolous things, right? We all have an Apple Watch. We all have a iPhone that costs, whatever amount it costs. But are we doing the things necessary for our health, right? Are we spending the money on the food? Are we spending money, on the education? Like maybe we can get into even, how people can invest in their health. But I think the first thing to notice is, like you said, like mentally, we have to make that switch. Like if you're shopping at the grocery store and you're not buying something because it's organic or whatnot, and you're not really, I guess the education behind it is important as well. Like you have to know what organic and all these things kind of mean, and maybe investing in that education as far as the food goes, then you can kind of build off of that. Then you know exactly what you're spending. But I think that just going up to the grocery store and looking at different things and saying, oh, I can't pay that price for this money, it's like you said, where are you spending it then? You're going to spend it later on at the doctor's. You're going to spend it later on in healthcare because you make a decision, right? It's a decision. It's a light switch.
Yeah.
It's the mindset, right? It starts with, do I look at food as a cost or an investment?
Right.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
And again, too, like, if it's worth the investment to you can depend on, and I think what you were alluding to is like the amount of information that you have about that subject. So
right.
if you don't know about, the labeling and the marketing phrases and a lot of the stuff that we talk about, but there's even more than that, then, it might not be as important to you. Whereas if you do learn about these things, and, we talk about it all the time, it's really hard to, close your eyes once your eyes are open to it. So,
yep.
You know what the number one cause of bankruptcy is in the United States?
No.
Medical bills.
Mm.
Okay.
Should have known that.
Now, a lot of people will say, yeah, but that's like tragedy happens, car accident, like
Things happen.
A lot of that happens.
Yeah.
But if you know that if I get diabetes, if I go here, if I get this, I'm going to incur these costs.
Yep.
To me, it's not a choice. I have to take preventative measures to make sure I do not become part of the healthcare system, if I can help it. I know a lot of people, you're born with something, you get cancer. Like there are things that you are out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the cost of not controlling what you can control?
Yeah.
It's big.
I mean, when you say that, yes, it is true. Like there's things that you can't control. But when you look at diabetes and you look at a lot of these issues and diseases that, we have going on, it's from one thing. It's from the food we're eating. It's from the lack of exercise. So those are things that you can control.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not something that's, like people say, oh, I don't have time to. You only need 15 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. You need 15 minutes to do some sort of exercise. It is a choice on what you're putting in your mouth, essentially, right?
Yeah, even if
there's no other way to say it.
15 minutes of exercise. I mean, great book, Tom Corley, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life. It gets into the science, and you can understand why these things are so important, the chemical reactions in your body. Mm-hmm. When you even just go for a walk, your blood pumps, it cleans your brain. It make you think better, and then it adds to your productivity. So it got another stat here. This is wild, okay? The cost of chronic U.S. disease is $3.7 trillion a year when you factor in the direct costs and the loss of productivity to not being healthy.
Wow.
Right? And then it gets even worse when you because everybody's focused on dollars and the money, okay?
Yeah.
The average healthy 65-year-old with a high school degree has a net worth of $230,000. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The average unhealthy same 65-year-old has a net worth of $120,000. It's half.
Wow.
Right? So certain people made those right investments with their money and end up with more of it. Mm-hmm. Certain people just looked at the costs, didn't invest, ended up with less.
Wow.
So, this is our budget for food. Well, this is whatever. You're pre-budgeting on the front end of your future failure.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, I think too, and we can go more into this, but in terms of like investing, yes, you can invest financially in your health, but there's like a lot of things too. And I think this is where like seeing the importance in doing these things is one of the bigger parts, is that, you can exercise for 15 minutes and you can, it doesn't cost anything to go outside and go on a run, or, there's certain things that don't cost you anything to do.
But even you say go on a run, you can do this inside, right? It doesn't cost you anything to do squats, push-ups. I mean, you know what I mean? Like these are all things you can do at home. Yeah. Exercise, eat right. These are not crazy things. You know what I mean? But when you talk about, your health, and it's not, I mean, that's just scratching the surface, right?
Right.
Doing those things. Once you start doing those things, I feel like it's a snowball effect. right? You get into, okay, exercise. And then from exercise, you're like, well, what's this, over here about eating? And then all of a sudden you get into eating and you start to learn about, like the different like quality and actually farm source products or organic and what that actually means. And then from that, it grows into more about like, it just essentially grows into, I feel like, investing your money, investing in health, investing in those things that are important to you. But all those things I feel like change once you start doing the right things, right? When you start building those building blocks, I feel like.
Think about this for a second, right? People are like, this is our budget for food. Well, are you putting money in a 401k? Well, yeah, I'm investing for my retirement.
Right.
For a retirement that you're going to be unhealthy and not enjoy. Like what you should do first before you put any money in the 401k is invest it in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Books, trainings, education. Like you do that on the front end. Everybody knows that people that do that stuff end up making more money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? I would not invest in my retirement until I invest in myself first.
Mm.
Yeah. Like people all the time, like, I got extra $100 a month. What should I do with it? Don't put it in the stock market.
Yeah.
Buy a course.
Yeah.
Buy 5 books.
Mentoring.
And then once you have a foundation and the correct convictions that have you on the right path, and all of a sudden you start making more money, then you start investing in your retirement. But you got to get investments in yourself done first.
Yep. Absolutely. And I mean, you can do them simultaneously as well. You know what I mean? But I think that to start, you have to start somewhere. You should start with your health. You know what I mean? Because it's your mind as well. And investing in your health is investing in your mental, investing in, like stress relief, investing in food, like as we're talking food, water, sleep,
recovery,
all of those things, right? That's the investment.
Good sleep is an investment in the next day.
Right. And then you think about a return, right? These investments that you are, that you're putting into your food, what is the return that you're getting from those investments, right?
Yeah.
Better sleep, better health, more time.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why somebody doesn't go down the right path is just lack of information.
Right.
Yep.
Or the wrong information.
Right.
That's all it is. I mean, it's just once you start diving in and learning and you get obsessive about it, which clearly I'm obsessive, like the facts are the facts. Healthy people accumulate 28% more wealth over their lifetime. Okay, well, I'm not going to try to make more money. I'm going to go make sure I'm healthy first.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the money will be there, right?
Yeah.
So these are the ways you need to kind of shift your thinking.
Right.
Like nobody has anything without investing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you have is something that you invested in at a prior time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where it starts.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
But, got to look in the mirror.
It's the process, I feel like. You have to trust the process. You have to start somewhere, and then once you start, you're going to make mistakes, right? You're going to invest in things and be like, oh, well, I didn't even use that workout tool that I thought I was going to use, right? But at least you're trying, right? You're searching for the right thing. You're going to make a couple investments that are going to be, hey, I don't know what happened.
Right.
It is what it is.
Well, everyone's different, right? Like, and I keep going back to like exercise, and I'm not trying to harp on it, but like an investment in a gym membership might like really be helpful to someone, but an investment with a relationship with a personal trainer might be a better investment for someone else, just based on their personality, whatever it might be. So it's also like which investment is best for you, Yeah. So
for me though, it always goes back to you want to hold yourself accountable, right? Like when you go out to that coach, they should be holding you accountable, but they should actually be like helping you with the knowledge, and you shouldn't have to be there forever, right? It's one of those things where you're going to go with like, be trained by this person, learn the information, and then eventually be able to, transition to someone else who knows more. And that's what I think it's really about, is like putting yourself in those areas where you can kind of grow from, right? It's not just like, oh, I'm going to go to Planet Fitness, I'm going to get a trainer, and that trainer is going to be my trainer the entire time, right? That trainer is going to hold me accountable, they're going to help me, and then from that, it's going to snowball into something else where now I'm looking for another guru that's going to be able to kind of like coach me and show me, the intricacies of, eating right. And I mean, you work out with Dave, right? He has the whole the whole body scan where he's telling you everything. Like you don't feel good or something, like it can tell you, it pinpoint it.
The value, this is something that has been very hard for me to learn. And it's just common sense. When you look at the most successful people, whatever they do, the best trainers, Dave has probably invested, I know it's hundreds of thousands of dollars in his education.
wow.
Right? And when I go to that gym, yeah, okay, Dave's gym is 3 times the cost of the traditional gym. But what do you learn when you walk into that gym and there's nothing there except a bunch of machines? You don't learn anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So on the surface, when you make these commitments, you're like, oh, it's expensive. But every time I've made an investment, I thought that was expensive. The returns, you can't put a price on it.
Right.
Tenfold, right?
I mean, the main thing I got from being around Dave, let's take that for instance. I learned how to eat.
Yeah.
Like everything that I knew how to source healthy food
Yeah.
and all these things, but I didn't know how to strategically eat to dial in for my body type, for my weight, where my goals want to be, how the macros should be divided, all the myths that you think that you can't have certain foods. I needed to eat more.
Yeah.
Right? So I learned how to eat, get leaner, put on more muscle, and not be starved. Felt great the whole time through it.
Right.
And that was the best investment I ever made in my life.
And you'll have it forever. That's what's so awesome is, no one can take it from you. You'll always have that information.
Right.
Yeah, and now that I've spent that money, now I can go do it on my own. I don't have to keep spending it. Like once you make this investment, you got the ROI forever. It's an infinite return when you invest in yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge because there's so many different things I feel like that people are investing, not just money, their time in, right? You're investing a lot of time in doing things that don't make any sense, right? That aren't going to help you. Whereas your health, that's longevity, right? And even if you're not looking, because I used to think about that too, like, oh, you're going to do these things, you can't live forever. That's right. But the way that you feel, right, when you're doing the right things, when you're eating the right way, is totally different than when you don't, right? You talk about brain fog, you talk about acid indigestion, you talk about, gut issues, all kinds of things, right? Cramps, all kinds of stuff, not drinking enough water, all these things. When you invest in these things and you start to learn about them, you feel great, right? You feel great doing all these things. And then you have more time to do other things as well. Now your schedule is made up of, it's like I said, it's like a choice. It's you choose to brush your teeth in the morning, right? Or not. Or you choose to work out or not. You choose to eat right or not. And I'm not trying to throw, everybody under the bus, because at the same time, it's like there's a medium, right? Like there's a point where like you have enough time to do like investing in food and eating right or working out or things like that. But at the same time, it's like you have your life. So live your life, but then just incorporate these kind of things into it. And it's not that you have to be the strict sort of, person that, I can't eat these things or I can't do those things. I think it's just identifying your relationship. And then from that identity and from building these things just to be the norm, you can enjoy other things then. When it's just normal, you don't have to go to the doctors, you don't have to do those kind of things. It's just normal. I mean, it's great. It is what it is, but you have to make that start first. It's
like super sad. I see meet so many people that are doing so well financially in their career. They're making a ton of money and they're living in pain.
Right.
Or, they have a hard time getting them down the stairs or getting out of the car. And it's like, man, like what if you have a ton of money but you don't have your health?
What is it?
It's all worthless.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Or, I guess that's a question right there, right? It's either, maybe it's not either or, but if it was, what would be your perspective on it, Shannon? Would you choose the health or the money?
I mean, obviously I would choose the health.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Because, when you think about it, if you choose health, I feel like money comes after that.
Right.
Right? If you're choosing to invest in health, your mindset, everything like that, money will come with that. Like, and maybe that's not your end all goal or perspective, but those things I feel like are, again, I just go back to, I feel like a broken record. I just keep saying it's a snowball effect. It's a snowball effect with good things, with that good energy, with that, those good steps that you're taking, more good steps, more good energy, more, great decisions come after that.
Well, like you said, not saying you can't, make mistakes or that there aren't alternative outcomes. But I think, Justin, even you said, like, every investment that you made that was, like that, or that was like a large investment that you felt at the time and ended up, paying dividends tenfold in the end.
Coaching.
So
this is the most undervalued investment that I started doing recently. I started spending more money on coaching. and several of them, different perspectives. Whenever you're dealing with something, when you work with a coach, someone who's not part of your daily life, that's unbiased, they're going to make you think differently. They're going to walk you through things. You're going to get types of clarity. I mean, the amount of value, I can't believe I didn't start doing this sooner. Right? I mean, at least anytime you have a big decision, you don't feel good about something, you need to make a change, you need somebody to tell you something you probably already know that you need to hear it from a different way, light bulb goes off. Yeah, okay, what does a coach cost? The good ones? A couple $100 an hour, right? I mean, the ROI on some of this stuff has been just so eye-opening to me. So every time I hesitate or I delay because I don't want to spend money on something that I don't have the return yet, and it's hard to see what's going to happen. The value has just always been exponential. And then it always ends up helping you help other people, right? Like you'll never sustain making money and profit and growing if you're not helping people or contributing to society in a positive way. Right. But the more you do that, and then you do, the universe, whatever, sends you more money, and like the income goes up, and then all this kind of stuff. It's like I'm addicted to that process because now I want to reinvest more into myself so I can help more people do that for themselves and then keep this thing going, right? Because it's an ecosystem, and there's really just, I see like people dividing into groups of like the way that they think and the people that are investing in their thought processes and they spend the money on the coaching and they don't look at money as a scarce resource. Those are the people who advance.
It's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. But I feel like that's also a mindset, right? Because when you look at money in that certain light where, if I could lose it or something like that, or you just look at the risk, it's like the same thing, like when we were talking about, like the rest of our lives, not being able to go outside, not being able to do those kind of things. It's like, are you going to evaluate those risks, right? Like, are you going to live inside forever? No. Right? You're going to go outside. We want to be outside. We want to be social, right? It's the same thing kind of with the investment. You can't be afraid to start because of the risk, right? Because there's a risk on the other side. Like you have to just take that leap of faith and go with it.
Yeah, and sometimes you lose.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's part of the process.
Right. You learn from it, right?
Yeah, but the ultimate risk is really not risking. You're risking it anyways in advance.
Exactly.
It is so hard to rewire your brain, right? Like we're all works in progress. I mean, it's a daily fight to keep progressing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a daily process in terms of the education, right? Yeah. We're always looking things up. There's always researching.
More to learn, right?
Yeah. There's podcast on podcast. There's so much information out there. There's so many doctors. I mean, if you think back before the internet, right? All this information, I can understand why people were, like, what do we eat? How do we do this?
Dark.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I can't even fathom that, right? Like, how would you get this information? You'd have to watch the regular news, like, like you'd have to be around this person. You'd have to actually know. Now, with the internet, there's no excuse, right? You have at your fingertips. You just jump out there. You type in a search term, health and wellness.
And different perspectives, too, right? So,
but what that technology's done is it's amplified everything in the way that you think, right? Because if you don't take control of your thoughts and you don't take control of that process, you're going to receive a ton more information than you used to, whether you want to or not, right? It's going to be in every social media. It's all over the TV. It's in you go into a doctor's office, you go anywhere, you're going to be crushed with information.
Right.
So if you don't take control of that thought process and the information that you put into your brain, you're being controlled by the information. And probably not the good stuff. So you have to combat that with intent, right? And I don't know, I'm over 100 books deep obsessing about all this. And the further I get down it, the more I get coached by people that are way more successful than me, who have done the things that I want to do. It's a very humbling experience every time. You realize how much you don't know and how much work you really need to do on yourself.
Yeah. Right. Definitely.
That's part of trusting the process, right? It's knowing, I think, and I feel like in anything, whenever you try something new and you start to get good at it, once you get good at it, you start to realize how much you really still don't know and how much there's so much more to learn. That's part of the game, right? It's part of the role. Yeah. It's interesting, and I feel like it's fun. learning and seeing the return on health and investments, and then also seeing the negative return, right, on doing those wrong things when you don't make those investments, right? And you're like, you hit yourself, dope, I should have done that. I should have bought into that.
Don't be so hard on yourself. That's
Yeah.
part of the process. Like I had a big problem with that.
Yeah.
I used to be so hard on myself.
Right.
So what? You made a mistake. Keep going.
Yep. Dust yourself off.
Yep.
Get back to it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I want to take this time to kind of, give some shout outs. There's a bunch of people watching.
Yay.
Amanda Lynn Burkhart, she's from Lexington Park. Of course, Doreen McKean, she's here watching.
Hi.
Lori Martin Johnson was watching. My mom was watching. Hi Mom.
Hi.
So guys, go ahead and mention in the comments. Let us know some things that you all are investing in as far as your health, your wellness, or some things that, you've looked into and you don't know if it's a good thing. And that I feel like that's also, we can use this kind of platform, this podcast, to kind of, any questions that people have about health and wellness, like we'd love to go and do the research and kind of find out if we don't know the answer, and be able to kind of bring that information to light and just kind of compare and contrast just health and wellness, because it takes a community, right? It takes a bunch of people.
Yeah,
That's why we do it.
definitely.
Spread the good news.
That's right.
Yep.
But when we're looking at, 10 intelligent ways to invest in your health, the first one is educate yourself, right?
That's it.
That's first and foremost what you want to do. You want to invest in the education, and then you can kind of know. The next one is sound eating habits. And I feel like from that education comes the sound eating habits, right? Like you said, like with Dave, right? It was a process. You went to him, and then all of a sudden he dialed it down. And then now, after learning that process, you're probably a machine, right? You know exactly what it is like that your body reacts to, exactly what to cook, what you like, what you enjoy.
Can't compare yourself to average. That was the problem is, I was played hockey my whole life, trained, all this stuff. And then you go to the traditional gym and you look around and see everybody else, and it's like, well, I know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in comparison to average, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, my growth has actually been stunted by the fact that I just thought I knew everything,
Wow.
right?
That's
So that is the number one wake-up call that all the successful people have figured out is they know nothing, even when you think you do, and stop comparing yourself to everyone around you.
Yeah,
Right.
that's great
Cannot
advice.
compare to average.
That's awesome. That's a clip, by the
You
way.
should just be trying to beat who you were yesterday.
That's
it.
That's awesome.
Yep. So
Yeah,
yes.
and the thing I posted the other day about if you look at yourself a year ago and you don't say, "Wow, that person was an idiot," you didn't get better.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a process. I'm always checking on myself. Daily, weekly, monthly. Am I looking at that person I used to be, and I'm glad I'm not that person anymore? Like in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I know that I'm moving in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like you have, even in 6 months, right? You have those things, probably even in a month, right? But in 6 months, I think like there's a wider snapshot that you can kind of see that you're like, oh yeah, like I was doing this before, now I'm doing this. Like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? And years and years go by sometimes and you're doing things and you don't even notice. And then all of a sudden you're like, one thing switched.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's a whole different avenue of success and light and all kinds of stuff.
Or you make such a small change and it ends up being, super dramatic.
Right.
It's like, why didn't I do this sooner?
That's the
that kind of
key
thing.
here,
Yeah.
right? Is to evaluate your stagnation periods, right? Because when you have those little breakthroughs or you did something that all of a sudden like you're exponentially at a new level. Well, how long did I waste at the previous level?
Oh,
Right?
that's true.
How long was I just okay with where I was at that period of time? Like how much time did I waste not getting to the next level?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
true.
So now I'm in this mode of I'm trying to shorten the stagnation periods and have more of those uncomfortable growth periods because you cannot grow in a comfortable state.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
That's that David Goggins, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Callous
get
your mind.
comfortable being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Burn the ships.
But it's one of those things. It's easy to say.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Easy to say.
And it's harder to do. So.
Right. Because it takes work. Actually putting in the time, the effort, the work, it's a process.
Well, that's why you said the community aspect really, helps is that, we're kind of all in it together.
Misery needs company.
It helps me just talking about it. Like I'm
Yeah.
saying the things that I need to do
Mm-hmm.
and keep doing. I'm reinforcing education beliefs in a value system and trying to make it stronger and get to that next level.
I get so hyped up when we start talking about this kind of
Love this
stuff. I'm like, I'm ready to go outside right now and just start lifting weights or doing something like I'm.
Oh my goodness. I should
Let's
get that
do
on
it.
film.
Oh, thank you.
I should film it. Let's put it live.
Doreen McKean says, she's investing in her Heartland Foods and investing in more organic foods. That's always a great thing.
Very smart.
That's awesome. And then James says, when he invested in eating better and exercise regularly, all of his health metrics went from poor/dangerous to optimal. I mean,
Wow.
Right. Talk about ROI.
Right.
What more can
That's
you
what I
ask
mean.
for, really? That, changes your everyday life, right? That's all we want.
Yeah, I'm in these groups, like Dave's got a group and all these transformation people with coaches, and you look at the data. I mean, people are changing their lives in a big way. They're getting off their blood pressure medication, like reversing diabetes, all these things. Like, I'm not sure what the upfront cost is to make that happen, but it's just, if it's going to save you money on healthcare and give you a better quality of life, I don't know if you can put any price on that.
Yeah.
Right.
And people don't do this, but then you have to think about like when we talk to Jerry also, it's like part of it is being there for grandkids and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're also making that investment not just for you, right? It's for your lineage, for the people, that are coming after you,
And
like
the next generation, right?
right. That's important because I mean, when you think about it, I think the other day we were talking about it, you were saying like millennials, and I forget the actual statistic, but that like I think a lot of like those like the kids that were born in the 80s right now have these like underlying health issues, and they're millennials, and we should be living our best lives at this point, right? Because of the way that we're eating, because of how we're living, I mean, of course, other stresses and just regular life. But when you think about like the next generations and how things are, like our lifespans shouldn't be getting smaller, right? They should be getting longer.
That's the health span compared to lifespan.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the stat was. I think it was something around like 2/3 of millennials, their health span is basically like they're in their 60s.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
But you're only in your 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you might live to a certain point, but to me, life ends when your health span ends.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
If you can't live well, that's to me the ultimate failure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do everything in my control to make sure that my health span is as close to my lifespan as possible.
Yep.
This is awesome. James says he's lifting while listening.
Oh,
That's awesome.
That's even better.
That's awesome. Yep, we're good.
That's awesome.
That's
Nice
awesome
work.
for that. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe we should do a podcast while we're exercising.
Oh, drop a comment if you'd like to see that. Okay.
I don't know how that would work out. Oh, Lori also said she invests in good supplements and Heartland Foods. So good supplements. That's one thing, Justin, that you preach about as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quality supplements.
Because if you buy the cheap ones, you're just buying filler. You may as well not spend it at all. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
How you do anything is how you do everything.
Right.
It's funny how all those things line up.
Yep.
These are all awesome things.
There's got to be intent behind your actions. If there's no intent, the actions will just be random. You will call it fate, and you will end up somewhere where you had no control.
Right. Or you won't even begin.
Right.
You'll make this whole mental kind of thing go on, and you'll say, oh, come up with every like instance that it could possibly be wrong with it, and say, oh, this is going to be totally wrong. This is no, I don't, and then not even start. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That also happens.
Blind allegiance. Got another big beef with that. You zoom out. Like the government doesn't care about you guys. I mean, if any of this was about health, like cigarettes would be banned. Putting endocrine disrupting dyes in food would be banned. Like nothing is ever about you. Like no one's trying to help you. You have to help yourself.
You have to.
Yeah.
There's no other way. No, and that's the part of it too, right? No one's going to do it for you. You can go to a coach or a mentor. You still got to do it. You still have to, like, they're going to coach you and they're going to tell you what you need to do. But if you don't do it, it's a choice, right? Like you have to do it as well. Like what they're telling you, the whole education, you have to take action, really.
Yep.
Yeah. There's like a couple hacks with that. I know it works for me. I got to if I'm going to make a really hard change on something, I got to make a public claim because it's just not in my nature to not be accountable.
Right.
To other people.
Yeah.
So if I make a commitment to someone else, I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to start a weight loss journey or, whatever it is, put a post on social media, call yourself out,
Yeah.
and you will do it.
Yeah.
Or you face everyone knowing that you're a flake.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not reliable and you're not accountable. So I think a lot of people just keep wanting to make the changes, but they don't make that line in the sand in advance commitment that's going to get you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
It's quicksand too, right? Because it's timing. Like we were just talking about, like you're sitting there and you're not making those direct like
But
actions.
how much is that costing you by not taking,
How much time
action?
are you wasting?
Yeah.
Right? Not doing it.
Yeah.
Right? We always talk about that. It's like, how much are you like at risk of not doing this? Right? If you're investing in your health or something like that, like how much are you putting yourself at risk more now that you're taking the time not to make the right decision, right? Overthinking and doing all those kind of things. What is that costing you?
Yeah.
Those are all
It's
questions.
like doing this podcast, that there is no option for me to lose my health if I'm going to preach this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So it's reinforcing, makes the discipline easier when there is no other choice.
Right.
To burn the ships, right?
That's it. Yep.
I mean,
Mentality.
there's no other way to put it, really. That's kind of how you have to think about it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
Yeah, I heard a really good analogy in the car earlier. I was listening to the podcast, and the guy was like, you got two people, they're going to like a work function, and they're both on a diet, and, like there's free burgers or something that you're not allowed to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, the vegan, it's very easy for them to turn the burger down. They already drew a line in the sand, right?
Yep.
The person that's on a diet but still eats that is like, oh, do I have a cheat meal? Do I this? So you got to draw those hard lines in the sand
Yep.
yeah.
with
Make a
yourself.
Yep.
Yep.
And stick with it. Stick with it. That's part of it. Like, like when you're, and we talk about this, like, as far as like when we're running and stuff, right? Like as far as you're going, like maybe it's 3 miles, maybe it's 4, it's 7, it's whatever, it's a half marathon, it's a marathon. Like regardless of whatever amount of time it is, it's the same feeling. It's the same thing, right? So just stick with it, right? 3 miles is like 6 and 6 and so on. So if you are in it, once you get in it, there's no looking back. You know what I mean? There's only forward. You can only go one way, right? So as you, and in that, it kind of like, I don't know if I can even say this on this podcast, but like David Goggins says, like, embrace the suck, right? Like, enjoy that as you're running. And she laughs because I'm sitting here and like, as we're running, we're going uphill and I'm like, embrace the suck, like, enjoy this, like, learn to like, if you learn to enjoy that, you're going to be so much better off because then.
Well, I think it's interesting because you said like learn that, like it is something that's learned, right? And like a lot of the stuff that we're talking about is not like it just comes naturally or it just like comes easily and you can just, do it. It's a choice and it's a decision, but it's something that you choose to do and you learn to do it and you learn to, make it like a more common thing. And then once it's more common to you, it's not as uncomfortable. And then that's when you need to make that decision to then, make that next step. And then, okay, and what can I do now to put myself in another uncomfortable position where I'm in a position to grow?
Yep.
And I think it's kind of just all a non-ending feedback loop that we're talking about. It's kind of all connected.
Yeah. Baby steps. You got to crawl before you walk.
That's it. And a lot of people talk about, it's popular to say giving is living and all this stuff, but you will only receive at the rate that you can give. Like that's just how it works.
That's a good one. Yeah.
But for some reason, me included, that mental barrier, it's usually when it comes to money.
Yeah.
The way we think about money has to be rewired.
Yeah.
It is painful to say, okay, I'm spending $1,000 on coaching.
Yeah.
Right? That's painful on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it works. You give it, and then you receive something that you think is worth 10 times that.
Yeah.
It's just the way it works.
Yep.
Can't explain why. But I've never received something that I wasn't willing to give first.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all part of the process.
And that's a great way of thinking about it, right? If you can train your mind to think that way, like I have to be able to give, and then in giving,
I'll get something back.
Well, I mean, not thinking that, you know what I mean? Like if I give, I'll get something back. But as much as I give, eventually in some other aspect, I will, I'll get some sort of return, right? And even if I don't, you still work on giving and eventually, you know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah. I'd still rather give it and see what happens.
Right. Yeah.
Take the chance.
You're not always going to get out of things
exactly what
you
you
expected. But sometimes and more often than not, it's usually comes back in a better way than I expected.
Yeah. That's growth.
Yeah. Right. And that if you could see it in advance, it would be easy for everyone to do.
Everybody would do it.
Yeah.
Everybody would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you don't know what course you're going to take is going to help you find the thing that's going to be your next career, or you're going to go to some conference and you're like, oh, it's expensive. I'm going to this boot camp seminar. Like, what value am I really going to get? And then you meet the next great employee or the next person you collaborate on a project with. Like proximity, like the rule of 5 thing is so crucial. Like, who are the 5 people that you spend the most time with? Because you're going to be the sum of those 5 people divided by 5.
Wow. Yeah.
That's it, right? So knowing that, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to get better proximity to the things that I want, the direction that I want to go. I got to get around the people who are doing or have done the things that I want to do.
Right.
Right. And you know what? A lot of times that costs some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
To pay to play, right? Like you want to get in, you have to spend money, but then it's just like you're saying, like you're going to spend it, but you're getting it back on the other end. Right.
And it's not measurable. That's the hardest part.
Right.
I mean, a couple years later, you can go back and say, okay, I spent $1,000 on this conference and I learned this, and this, and then you can translate it to, oh, that helped me get to X and X, and wow, it was actually worth $50,000 or like whatever. Right. It's hard to measure the returns of investing in yourself.
Yeah.
But everybody has no problem saying, I know if I throw money in my 401k, I'm going to get 8% annualized over the certain amount of years, and then here's what I end up with in retirement. You do it because it's measurable.
Right.
Yep. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yep. So, we have those, educate yourself, sound eating habits, regular exercise routines, proper sleeping patterns, preventative care, friends. So like you said, you know what I mean? Like
people
putting those people around you, right? Volunteering, giving, right?
Your time.
And stress management.
Yep.
Right. Oh, and also practice moderation, and then understand high-risk behaviors. So understanding those things, and, again, it's a choice, right?
Yep.
You're deciding where, when, all those kind of things. But you can't control everything at the same time.
Yeah.
You can't control everything. But the things that you can control, if you at least try, that's all, that's what we're talking about, is really just trying. Educate yourself, and then just try.
Yep. Good stuff. Well, I know I learned a lot. We appreciate everyone who has tuned in. If you have any questions, comments, or any topics which you'd like us to cover in the future, please post those in the comments section below. If you're interested in getting together with Heartland to do a sponsored event like a pop-up or a Facebook, please send us a message on Kat and Lindsay. And with that, I think that kind of sums it all up. Justin, if you'd like to send us off.
Sounds good. We'll be back next week. As always, everyone stay healthy with Heartland.